The finale of Season 3 of The White Lotus is here, and it's safe to say that it was an absolute bloodbath. 5 deaths, almost a 6th. I left the island with an overwhelming sense of just feeling like evil prospered. Misdirection was key in this season, with emotions running high towards the back end of this episode, especially, and there being a cost to everybody's actions. This was most definitely a finale to remember, with the episode comfortably clocking in over an hour. There's a lot to break down, so with that, let's dive into the episode and break down all that there was to take away from it. Here is The White Lotus Season 3, Episode 8, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Rick and Chelsea. Rick and Chelsea's arc was one which was simply heartbreaking. Rick was a man who had been in pain for the entirety of his life because he believed that Jim Hollinger was the person who killed his father and deprived him of a relationship with him. After the end of the previous episode, we saw that Rick had a smile on his face, as if he was now free from the burden of Jim Hollinger after confronting him. But little did he know that Hollinger would plague what little he had left of his life even further and ruin it right up until the end. Rick was a man who had been in constant pain and had never been able to move on from the idea of his father being taken away from him. His relationship with Chelsea was something that should have allowed his mind to focus on the love that he had rather than the love he never received from somebody that he never knew. She even said that herself. He had his whole life ahead of him with Chelsea. She cared for him deeply, was willing to be with him forever, and believed that they would be, but he was blindsided by revenge over the existing pain that he had. That was the very thing that caused him to lose the most important person that he loved and his future. With Hollinger confronting Rick and insulting his mother, it got to him, and it was something else that he just couldn't let go, to the point where he confronted Hollinger, took his gun, and then killed him. However, Canola told Rick that Jim Hollinger was actually his father as he lay there dead. I didn't expect that to be the case, because I thought it was a bit of a cliché move, but the show did decide to go down that route. From there, the bodyguards, who had been useless throughout the entirety of this show, fired back, and they both got killed too. However, in the crossfire, Chelsea was shot, which not only marked Chelsea's death, the third bad thing that happened to her, as she said before how bad things always happen in threes, but it was also symbolic of Rick's future being destroyed. As she was exactly that earlier on in the episode, she spoke about amorati and how people's lives and fates were connected and that they had to be embraced. She also said how Rick and hers were linked in the sense that if something bad happened to him, then it would happen to her. And that's exactly what we saw unfold. She became collateral damage to his issues because he couldn't look towards the future. He was so held up on the past and wanting to confront it that it actually became the very thing that took away any future with Rick. Holding Chelsea and walking away, we saw that Girtok then approached Kongrat Tala and fired his weapon at Rick, leading him to also be a victim of the White Lotus Thailand, tying back into amorati and how his fate was linked with Chelsea, and also how his past took away his future. Rick and Chelsea's deaths were extremely powerful. It showed what living in the past can do to a person and how, even when you have somebody in front of you that can give you the happiness that you desire and change your life for the better, that anger, resentment, and feeling of a lack of love can blindside you and take away all that's good that's in front. Rick and Chelsea got to be together forever, just like how she saw it, but not in this world, in that of the afterlife. I also think Rick becoming this person that he was always looking to kill, in the sense of being the person who killed his father, was also a powerful image too, because it just tied into that unhappiness that he had within. The Ratliffs. Well, Timothy, you got away with it, didn't you? I thought Lochlan was a goner for sure. I actually thought it would have been poetic if Lochlan, the only person that said that he'd be able to live without any of the luxuries that the entire family was attached to, ended up being the person that was killed. The person that Timothy deliberately didn't give the poison drink to and felt like was neglected by everybody in this episode as well. But alas, after returning to the water like the monk said the afterlife would be, he awoke from the dead and saved his father from manslaughter charges that would have been going his way. When this episode opened, we saw that Timothy was still on the fence about what to do with his family and whether he was going to kill them or not. Piper returning from the monastery and essentially saying that she felt like she couldn't live like that for a year showed that even her, the one that claimed to be the least like the family and the one that seemed to not hold material value of things, was just like the people that she felt she wasn't like at all, showing that she was added to the list of people that Timothy was planning on taking with him. Victoria's face when Piper was just in tears and saying how she was disappointed in herself was one for the photo album. She was just so pleased that Piper wasn't staying in Thailand. That Piper's tears only made Victoria's smile wider because she knew that she wasn't going to be staying. The blender pin colada and the seed of the fruit of the Pong Pong tree was the cocktail of choice for death. But after Timothy handed them out and gave a speech about how he felt it was his job to protect the family from suffering, he changed his mind and knocked the drink out of Saxon's hand. After they all had a sip from it, I think Timothy probably realized that he wasn't doing the protecting at all in that moment. In fact, he was the one inflicting the suffering by giving them the drinks. I'm presuming that they weren't impacted because they only had the smallest of sips, and most of it seemed to be in the base of the blender still. Timothy was also lucky that the seed of the fruit smelled too, because at least that meant that he could blame it on the coconut milk. It was in the next morning, though, when Lochlan took his brother's words to heart, where he said, "No one's going to make you a man. You got to do it yourself." He made himself a protein shake in the blender that was full of the seeds, and he drank all of it, the very thing which led him to pass out and seem like he died. I don't know, but surely Lochlan should have cleaned that blender to start with. It was said to have off coconut milk in it, so why would you build a shake on top of it? As Lochlan was perceived to be dying, we saw that the shots of the ocean were appearing alongside him, and there was this vision of him going deeper and deeper into the water. The very thing that tied back to what the monk's view of the afterlife was when he said that in life you're the water droplets, and then in death you return to the water. So that's what made me think that Lochlan was definitely a goner. Plus, his family were also appearing in front of his eyes, as well as he was sinking deeper and deeper. There were these 4 figures that were looming over the water. I think these could stand for a couple of different things. The first is that it could have been symbolic of each of the family members watching him die. But then, as time went on, it looked like they were 4 monks. This could also hold many different meanings, too. The first is in Theravada Buddhism, where it's said that there was a group of 4 monks that visited Kanamada and impacted her life. This could be connected to Lochlan awakening and saying that he felt like he saw God, or it could also tie into the concept of see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, and do no evil, which has been at the heart of the show this season. I'm presuming Lochlan managed to survive because he threw up quite soon after drinking it, so maybe that got a lot of it out of his system. But considering that it's actually said that it causes death in most cases of ingestion, he was just lucky that day.